Well, in the last of these videos I did, you may have noticed that I had jumped up to brush off the chips, and you noticed I was still in my pajama pants, but I've already changed to my jeans now, so no need to worry about that for this video. I'll tell y'all little things we're going to work about here to try to make the rest of this work come the way it does, I say, and then see how we're going to cut the little lines, make it so we got the Cardinals just as they ought to be. Oh, a little work and come and go. I tell y'all that we work our way around things, work our way to do things. I say that, oh, the little work that makes us who we are. Luckily, I did not cut my wrist there. I had a good piece of glove on there. I say that there's little work comes this way, and now I'm going to work on the tails of these other two Cardinals. Sometimes it's always good to kind of have on a good glove. A glove that might even just as much cover your wrist as anything else. If you kind of cut yourself too hard in the wrist, it could be a little thing where it could be a much worse place for blood to come out, because that's where the arteries of your heart are connected, from what I hear, and make your blood run out faster. I think God really spared me there. But as for these little cuts we make, we get around to where we finally come down, make our last little move. Thankfully, it's just not one of those things where we get surgery to get things back in place. Once I had an accident with my hand on the bandsaw where I had to get surgery to get a bone back in place. So, tell y'all stories. Most people don't want to hear the details of them. And I say, with all the technology we have these days, there's so much more we can do. You know, I wanted to mention to you all that I've mentioned Sarah Listy of Tool Girls Garage in some of my videos. I'll tell you all, just this past Thursday, she had surgery. And if you ever keep up with her posts, you probably know that there's been little spinal issues. She kind of has a metal spine in her place right now, and never understood all the details of how it works or what the condition is. But I mean, I've heard it in her stories, and I've looked it up, read some detail about it, but it's just hard to really understand what all it is. I say that, you know, kind of a sad time and kind of a hard time for her. So ask that you all keep her in your prayers. It's just going to be a hard time to go through these days. You know, sometimes some years go a little rougher than others at times, and it's a little crazy at times. I mean, I tell y'all that there's just things we work at in life. I wanted to tell you all that over these past few days, since being out of my meetings, I have really been working hard on new sewing patterns for the Winnie pets, and finally just come up with little things for them, and kind of been rearranging patterns, because ever since kind of like showing and talking on my Facebook page about how I've been rearranging my koala patterns and making kangaroo patterns and stuff, I decided to translate them into a few other patterns I could make. Hopefully sometime I'll get around to showing a video of that, but would finally say that I've taken my elephants, my cats, my raccoons, and pandas and possums and all that other stuff, and made them into patterns where they're like animals sitting up rather than on all four legs, I say, you know. And as for a little work that comes in, it's just making itself so we see brighter days coming. It's just the way little work makes itself to come. Somehow, I think I keep doling these blades, and I tell y'all, sometimes it gets to be a little trouble the way I keep mislaying my knife sharpeners too. I think this is going to be little work of its own self. I mean, you know, and I tell y'all, there's just so much I learned from my niece. Being around the house as much as she is, I tell y'all something, you know, it's just so sweet and innocent, I think. Not so much you can really say for her, but it was just the fact that she's awake now and she's up there playing, but still cannot, for a time like this, be running any machines. All that noise from the machines, I mean, it just scares her to death, I'd say. And thankfully, I'm at a point in my work where I don't really have to run them that often, because I can kind of work on a few good carving things these days. I've got a business in that these days, and that's pretty much the way that's going to work. I say that there's little things I've got in my life, in my plans, oh, like work-related things. I say, blessing children, blessing loved ones, blessing life lessons. Oh, I say that we're going to work along this way, make something so it's all so awesome, also work. And then finally get along with it. Oh, I say that this is just kind of like how the work shall come along. Do want to kind of mention that that piece of tail there was just a lot of work in itself. I'd say that we probably kind of wore out and doled another knife working on that one. Probably don't take as much time as I should out of my days to work enough to sharpen these knives, but think I've got my bag down here and think I've got a stone in there, so I say that we're going to work our way about this. I say make it so we see a little thing coming out, and oh, a little work into these birds. I say got this other little tail to work on here, make it so it's going to be nice and neat. And I will tell y'all that there's just been a lot to get introduced to in the school food service district these days. They're kind of enforcing more rules this year, making it so rules just get a little stricter than they were before. Sometimes it's about time they enforce them, because it's probably to the point where people really need them to be that way, and then we're finally coming down to the fact that it's all going to be just what it's going to be. Finally making it so we're going to see them just the way they get enforced so that people follow them. It's just kind of like the work in our hands. These days I say that we got a lot to come, a lot to go. Got introduced to some new people as I was in that meeting the other day. Will say that there's just a lot to learn about it, a lot to know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a little calmer now than I've been all summer. Finally got to meet my new boss, and that's, I think, is going to go well. I'd say that even over the summertime, there's been some times when there's some videos it's been hard to do. I'd say according to the calendar, it's probably still the summer, but we'll just kind of say for another thing that as far as the school system is concerned, it's over, because it's about time pretty soon that kids are going to be back in school. Fall doesn't really start till September, so it's just going to be the work it's going to be. And I'll tell y'all that little Cardinal time comes this way. You know, I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and around here, I mean, people are fans of the Kentucky Wildcats, as this is where the University of Kentucky is located. But nearby there is Louisville, just a few cities over, and I'll tell y'all that that's where the University of Louisville is, and Cardinals are the mascot there. So we know around here the game that people in Kentucky get the most excited about is when the UK basketball team plays against the Louisville Cardinals. That's what they are always into here. Thankfully, there's certain places in life where I no longer go, because people have judged and criticized me for the fact that I didn't watch the games, you know, for the fact that I was kind of going about my own business in life. And around here, there's people who kind of think it's blasphemy that you don't care much about sports. You know, there's so much in life. We all just care about different things. We all just kind of have our own preferences. Some of the best friends I ever had were not all that much into sports themselves. And I'd say that that was just how I got through in life, you know, seeing how graciously in life a lot of things just had to be kind of gonna work our way about this, kind of get rid of all these chips. And I say that probably about time to end the video here. There's a few other steps we're going to go over in the next one, and I'll be back on as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.